disagree, you agree in part. This particular aspect you are describing didn't have a procurement plan. And whatever the circumstances was, the Auditor General is saying to you, you didn't have a procurement plan. Do you agree with him or you disagree with him?
We disagree because it wasn't required.
Okay.
We weren't doing the procurement, it was the World Bank that was doing the procurement.
So
we just needed to get it in the country before the end of that month so that
you spend money, but it was
in advance, the World Bank
spending
will pay.
money.
Yes.
Before you leave that subject, was there adequate documentation suggesting that you were using this money to front load to be reimbursed later on at the World Bank?
Yes.
Did you submit that to the
email? Yes. The email transactions and everything with the project office, all of those things were communicated.
As we could make some.
I
ain't finished with this.
That's what I'm saying.
This list.
Yeah.
Let the Director General finish, and then you'll come back. Commissioner General.
So there was a second payment. The first payment to the TECO was in August. There was a second payment to the TECO of $72,000 on the 23rd of October. And again, similar argument. I didn't have business registration and tax clearance, and it didn't have procurement plan. And now, we noticed that there's a table, there are actually two tables in the Auditor General's report that appear to be repeating some of the entries that we just spoken about. Because this 175 that I spoke to about the Starlink payment, we see it is in the second table as well. So this may be a result of double counting, which maybe the Auditor General will be able to clarify. The other issue that we try to explain to the Auditor General during the audit meeting is that at the end of the year, in December, because of the very good performance of the staff, we decided to use some of the money from the MedTech funds to actually give the staff cash amount of $225 each for their Christmas food and other things. But we restricted them. They have met among themselves and selected, I think, 3 or 4 business places where they could go and get these things. So we got coupons, and we gave the coupons to the staff that were tenable at one of these business places. So the staff went there, took the goods, and in return for the coupons, we then accumulated the payments, and then we pay the vendors for this Christmas package that we had given to the staff. Again, the Auditor General queried this. The Auditor General said, oh, well, you're making payment to these vendors without procurement plan, all of that. So we explained to the Auditor General that we're giving cash to staff. We can make procurement plan for cash, because to do procurement means you have to predetermine the items that you want to buy, the quantities that you want to buy, and agree to a price. But we're giving the staff the freedom. Now we'll give them the cash coupon so that each person will have the freedom to go to these stores and take whatever they wanted for their household, because everybody's needs will not be the same. To even buy rice, we couldn't determine whether somebody preferred burger wing or somebody preferred something else. So we gave the cash coupon to the staff, and then once they expended the cash coupon, then we went and collected them and reimbursed the businesses in the value that the staff have taken. But the Auditor General still said that you have to indicate this in his report because we didn't provide, we provide to the employees. Again, some of the other things there are payments, most of the other things are payments for the chapel. There was also another payment, I'm looking for it, with the Auditor General flag. And it's important to also emphasize that the DR site that was constructed, and we'll speak to that in more details when we speak to the particular point, that was constructed in downtown. The payment, there was a final payment outstanding, the project completion payment, the final payment. So when I took over, this payment was due. When the engineer submitted a completion report and all of that, we made our payment. And that was one of the things that the Auditor General captured and said we made this payment without procurement plan and all that. I said, well, Mr. Auditor, this is a payment outstanding from a contract activity that came forward because this was the payment that we had to do when everything was completed. The auditor still decided that he would maintain it. So on the question of the count 2, on the issues with the payment without supporting documents, those are the points that we don't completely accept the findings of the Auditor General's report.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Are there payments in that listing that you believe there was no payment, no adequate documentation for?
Well, the previous administration
Yeah.
made a lot of payments like I explained. I can speak to that one.
No, you have to be able to speak to that because that's part of.
So-
So that's why I asked the question. The part you didn't agree with.
Yeah.
There's not only the payments you refer to that you disagree with. Are there other payments in that listing
Yes.
That
I
you
disagree
agree with?
Yes.
that you agree with?
That I disagree with.
The one that you agree with? Because let's say, for example, the one with the telco, the ones with the telco, you raised. The one with Starlink, you raised. Are there any other payments that was made that you disagree or agree with in that process that didn't have adequate documentation?
Okay, there's a huge component of payments that I can speak to because those payments were made on behalf of LRA by MedTech. And I cannot speak to what documentation MedTech has or MedTech doesn't have. I mean, Oliver is here and Oliver will be able to speak to those. But I'm speaking about payments that we made, especially those ones that made.
Which payment you made as CG?
Yes.
And you're not speaking to the one that was made to the predecessor.
The ones that were made during my predecessor's administration were all made by MedTech. Because at the time, the funding was held with MedTech, and the administration only made requests to MedTech, and MedTech did the expenditure on LRA's behalf.
So there could be some truth to the fact that payment was made without a procurement plan.
There could be truth to that.
Okay.
There could be truth to that. Yes, Chair.
Yes, the gentleman from Lofa.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Suji, sorry for coming late, but I followed it on social media about coming, and I heard the Auditor General presentation. Against that presentation on the CG, I see a lot of violations. Has there been point in time have you corrected those findings that you didn't agree with, and you have corrected now as we speak, and you have communicated that with the CG?
Yes, we are in the process of correcting those. Like on count number 2, he indicated that the transitory account was not established. We agree with that wholly. And we are saying that by now it would have been cured. The only thing that delayed because there was a case before the Supreme Court, the conclusion of which would have determined who will be negotiating with to cure that. That process has started today because the Supreme Court just sent communication to us last week that our case has been resolved.
So is that the only deficiency that you have corrected?
No, that's not the only deficiency. There are other deficiencies, like for instance, the deliverables the Auditor General talked about. One of the deliverables is the construction of a destination inspection facility. That construction work is going on now, and I have been updating the chairman with some photographs. In fact, we would like to invite a committee, when you have the time, for all of us to go there to go see. That construction is well underway.
If
So
I
we're
may
hearing
just follow up with that, I listened to the Auditor General and say it was an initial plan to be constructed in Nimba.
Okay.
Are there specific areas stated for the agreement, and why did you take it to Nimba?
In the agreement, the agreement requires MedTech to construct a destination inspection facility at the free port of Monrovia. That's the only place. It is up to LRA and the government to decide to place destination inspection facilities elsewhere around the country. And as a part of an initiative by LRA, LRA decided to use some of the money it was getting from this contract to construct its own destination facility in Lima County. This had nothing to do with the contract whatsoever. The reason it's reflected in this report is because money from the contract was utilized to construct that destination inspection facility in Nimba.
Sorry, sir.
I'm still
In addition to that, he stated that cost of construction should have been done by MedTech from 80%. But according to his investigation, his observation, it is being borne because it's being borne by LRA 20%. Can you clarify that?
I think the Auditor General is mistaken on that point because the DR contract is very clear. The responsibility of MedTech under that in terms of construction of a DR facility is for the construction of the facility at the free port of Monrovia. There is no other construction of DR facility responsibility on the part of MedTech in that contract.
no. Is that the only? I'm trying to get at something deficiency that was corrected. I just know two deficiencies that has been corrected.
Okay, the other deficiencies are the non-provision of the scanners.
Okay.
The scanners obviously will be provided when the construction is completed because those are the things that will equip the facility that is being constructed. The warehouses too that will be constructed, all of those were part of the deliverables that you mentioned. The software, other things, when the systems are in place, all the devices are set up, CCTV and other things, all of those are predicated upon the completion of the DR site construction facility. Now, also we moved the money from MedTech. That was one of the pitfalls from MedTech to government of Liberia. So we have done some things, but we're impeded by continuing with the curing process because of this court action that was pending before the Supreme Court, which fortunately is now resolved.
Chairman, you for now.
Thank you.
Mr. PG, CG, and Mr. AG. Which contract are we talking about here with MedTech? Is it still legally enforced?
Yes, our contract is still being executed because the services are still being performed by MedTech.
The MedTech certificate limited contract should have ended October 31, 2024, correct?
I'm not aware of that.
Mr. AG, your audit objective was to review or determine whether the MedTech contract ended October 31, 2024 were in compliance with the laws and regulations, correct?
Correct.
So if we take it that the contract ended October 31, 2024, do we have an existing contract with MedTech currently? Question. If the MedTech contract with Liberia ended October 31, 2024, we are in June 2025. Do we, as the government, have the contract with MedTech? Question.
Mr. Chair? Yes. No, I consider exactly the question.
Thank you. We'll give enough time to the DG. And matter, you can check me, because this is the questioning the existence of contract. We can address that question. The contract, the destination inspection contract, wait a minute. MedTech is here and trying to answer this question. Why
Let me clarify.
Okay.
Our audit period was up to October 2024. That was the scope of our audit.
From the contract inception.
To October 2024, that's why we were auditing.
Okay.
We were there, we did not state that was the period of the contract.
Okay.
So everything that we disclosed in our report, all of the findings that were disclosed in our reports were up to October 2024. I think that's the point I want to make. But since I'm
Very
on, can I make a
No. The questions that the Dylan asked is relevant, and I just want to come in there and say that as well. So you clarify that the time period in your presentation is the audit.
Yeah.
The audit period.
Yeah.
From the time the government of Liberia signed this contract with MedTech up to that October 2024 last year.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so with that response, do we have a contract with MedTech as a government? Both LRA and MedTech.
MTS.
He's talking about MTS. Do we have a contract with MTS, Inspection Services?
The government of Liberia signed the destination inspection contract with MedTech Scientific Dubai on July 1, 2021 for a period of 10 years. MTS is MedTech Scientific Dubai is an international entity, and such the contract calls for using of a local purpose vehicle, which is a special purpose vehicle.
Sir,
So MTS,
sir, 1 minute. Which one is MedTech before?
it is a MedTech Scientific Dubai.
MedTech Scientific Limited is the same as MedTech Scientific Dubai?
Yes.
Good. Where is that contract?
We can provide you a copy, Senator. I didn't bring the contract with me.
So how do I know that there is an existing contract? The reason I'm asking is because that contract was never ratified by the legislature.
This is the issue.
So the fact that it was not ratified by the legislature, you don't expect the legislature to have copy of any such ratification. And you coming for this,
You need to respect his assistance.
you coming for this matter, and you even bring copy of the contract.
Can I respond?
Because every day there's one MedTech, Liberia, Dubai, Nima, which are the MedTech are here, and I want to see the contract. I want to see the validity.
Senator, before you come in, the senator is correct. That contract never came here for ratification. But in addition to that, when all of this started, in that contract that didn't come here for ratification, there's a provision there that calls for the establishment of MedTech Scientific Liberia Limited as a special purpose vehicle for the implementation of this DI contract that was never ratified. But then today, that MedTech Liberia Limited has been replaced with MTS,
Exactly.
which can violate that unratified agreement. I think this is the issue we're trying to get.
Can I come in on that point?
Yeah.
Right now, I've just asked your staff to distribute the court document from the Supreme Court indicating that that matter has been resolved. Our understanding now is that there is no more contention within MedTech, and MedTech Scientific Limited, has settled with MedTech Scientific Liberia. So that is the court document before you there.
So the court
That we
document
just received.
the contract. Where's the contract?
Coming in.
Where's the contract?
I'm not getting you, sir.
Where is the contract? That the question you was no follow up to my question. So where is the contract?
The contract has been, we can send it to you, Senator. This hearing was about the Auditor General's report, that's why we didn't bring the contract.
The contract that extends beyond 2024.
So the 2024 date, Senator, like the Auditor General explained, was the period that his audit was covering up to. But it had nothing to do with the contract validity.
So, we can also ask that question. That contract, validity, legality, and everything the legislature has standing
Absolutely.
to question it and demand for it.
Yes.
the Auditor General's report, the audit report. Before I come back to you, the Auditor General concludes that this report is an adverse conclusion. Correct, Mr. AG?
Yeah.
What is the meaning of adverse conclusion?
It
What does it mean?
It means that there were significant deviations relative to the implementation of the contract.
Good. That means there's trouble with compliance. You conclude that your observation during your audit was that the LRA did not remit $6 million into the consolidated revenue account, which was derived from the approved 20% fees related to the destination inspection agreement between the government of Liberia and MedTech Scientific Limited. This is page 4 of the Auditor General's summary. $6 million was not remitted to the consolidated account. Did the LRA say when it was remitted or deposited and what happened and the expenditure thereof?
So, in answering that question, Senator, and it's, this is a public forum, it's good that we clarify some misstatements that I made. The LRA Commissioner General indicated that, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, I concluded that this money should not have been used by LRA. It's not my opinion. The Auditor General does not perform audit based on his opinion. I want all of us, if we have to go to regulation B81 of the PFM Act of 2009 as amended and restated 2019. It states that all public monies collected and retained by the government agency shall be paid in gross into the designated accounts, and no use shall be made by any public officer of monies collected in any manner between the time of its receipt and payment into the bank account, except provided by an enactment. I want the LRA to show me any document, any legislation or act that authorize them to use this money. During the exit conference, they have indicated that this was a custom fee. This is not a custom fee. This is a concession contract between the government of Liberia and MedTech Scientific Limited. This is not a custom fee. The second part that I indicated, if you are using funds, all funds used by entities should be part of your budget, or if these are what we call funds that were not provided for, they should be subsequently disclosed in your budget performance reports and financial statements. I also want the LRA to show me evidence of their budget performance report and financial statement disclosing these funds from 2021 to 2024 as they use it. I want them to disclose that. The other point I want to make is, it seems that the Commissioner General of the LRA is reading from a report that is not the Auditor General report. The Auditor General report is a final report that includes the Auditor General position. The report that the Commissioner General is reading from is a draft report that was sent for management response. That is not the Auditor General report. When you are invited for a hearing on the Auditor General report, you state findings that are in the final topics of the report. I see this as an attempt on the part of the LRA to cherry pick from $1,306,051 that have not been accounted for as at the time of the audit.
Mr. AG, let's come back to you so that the Commissioner General of LRA can respond to that. Your observation is that $6.7 million was not deposited or remitted to the consolidated account, correct?
Correct.
And through all your audit, there was no proof of the expenditure of that money or where it was remitted to.
No, the second part is it was funded, even though we felt or we knew or so as supported by law that the LRA should not have used those funds, we still subjected those funds to audit.
Okay.
And we found out that at the time of the draft management letter, and I want to clarify, the draft management letter is not the Auditor General report.
Correct.
It is the report that is sent to management for response.
Right.
They could not account for up to $2 million.
Okay.
After we sent the report, there was subsequent document made, there was some clarification made, we adjusted the amount to $1.3 million. The Commissioner General has not answered whether they have fully accounted for the
Where
$1.3
in your
million, but I see as an attempt to cherry
Mr.
pick.
AG, where in your report?
So,
Where in your opinion
page-
is it?
yeah. Page 17 of the final report.
Where is your final?
Page 17?
Yeah.
I'm going to this,
Page 17,
Where is it?
1.3.1.14.
Okay, so what we okay, there, right? Okay. So, Mr. CG,
Yes, sir.
what reliance, legal reliance, did the LRA have to not to remit government funding into the consolidated account as required by law?
Thank you, Senator. I'd like to read for you, if you may, Section 1822, Custom Services Fee of the Liberia Revenue Code.
Of 1 year?
This is of 2018 as amended.
Okay, go ahead.
A, fixed fees.
Can you accept from the PFM
Yeah, I could get
of 2019? The
Yes,
restated
and then I restated.
Fixed fees. The fees for issuing customs documents and performing other services in connection with the functions of the Customs Department shall be 1.5% of the CIF for imports which are not set forth, except otherwise prescribed in regulation by the Minister in consultation with the Commissioner General. Such regulations shall be officially published and shall be just and reasonable fee to be charged for issuing documents and performing other services in connection with the operation of the Customs Department, which are not set forth herein or in any other statute or regulation. He shall use as a criteria the recouping by the government of the costs involved. Said fees shall be directly payable to the account of the Liberia Revenue Authority. The following services at custom posts and airports shall be 1.5%.
Mr. AG, please hold it right there. I got a copy of what you sent there and what you reading, section 1822 of custom services fee, right?
Yes.
The contract between the MedTech and the percentage for Liberia through LRA, is that considered fees?
Yes. It's custom services fee.
The 20% of the MedTech agreement between Liberia and MedTech, is that 20% for LRA or the government of Liberia?
It's for LRA.
So LRA decides what to do with the 20%, and the national government through the legislature and the national budget has got zero to do with it.
This is what you enacted, Honorable. This is what the legislature just enacted in the provision I just read.
No, but you may have been considering that as a fee, but a percentage of a contract between the government of Liberia and another entity, whether local or foreign entity, the percentage that belongs to the country cannot be considered a custom fee. That's not our contemplation. And that's not the contemplation of the law.
The services being provided, if you had allowed me to read the rest of the provision.
I got it. Go ahead, read it.
Yes.
Senator, if I may just inject,
No, no, no.
look at the percentage.
No, Mr. AG, let the CG continue there. There is never
So, Senator, the 1.5%, the up to 1.5% is meant to be deposited in LRA account for LRA's use.
20%. So what, Mr. CG? Mr. Commissioner General, take it that Liberia signed or entered into a contract between Liberia and MedTech. 20% for Liberia. How does that constitute LRA fees?
The entire amount is actually for LRA. But because, according to this provision of law, but because LRA cannot provide the services, LRA hires a third party. And the fees that are collected, LRA then pays the third party to perform services on behalf of LRA. All the money for LRA. Assuming MedTech were not in the picture, all that fee MedTech collecting would have come to LRA.
And LRA account of fees?
Yes. Is that what it says here in the law? Yes.
Mr. AG, you got any contract with you?
We just need to look at the percentage. The percentage will tell us. We don't even need to look anywhere else. The percentage for the concession income between Liberia, MedTech Solution, and the LRA is 80-20. Is that the same from what the Commissioner General is reading? That's not true. That's not the same. This is a concession income that is coming in that is being interpreted. Let's look at the percentage. For me, I don't even want us to look at even the technicalities surrounding the laws. Let's look at the percentage. What the Commissioner General read is that, I don't know, 0.5%, 1%, 1.2%, whatever it is, that is completely different from 20%, 80%. Completely different.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please let note that there is variance here in the explanations so that the committee can make a determination by the law passed. My second concern from the AG's report told the
Senator, can I just please finish the rest of it because it actually speaks to the context. The Auditor General is saying that we are cherry picking, so he appears to be cherry picking. The law says inspection fees shall be a component of the customs services fee as prescribed in regulation made by the Minister. The same provision, the one I didn't finish reading.
The revenue pool?
Yes, the revenue pool. And shall be paid.
I know where you're reading from. You give me the worksheet? Which is that one you're reading from? It's not on the yeah. Section 18, 22.
They didn't put all of it there.
Why did you leave that out?
I don't know why they did that. Apologies for that.
Now you're reading something that I don't have.
But this is the law that you enacted.
Hey, you gave me a copy of the law. Why you left that?
We'll give you a copy, Honorable. Okay. Like I said, it shall be a component. Let me go back. Inspection fees shall be a component of customs services fee as prescribed in regulations by the Minister and shall be paid to the account of the Liberian Revenue Authority. 1. Special delivery permit for release of goods before entry has been made. 2. Certificate of goods landed. 3. Certificate of examination. 4. Certificate of packages lost in transit. 5. Bill of health. So these are the services that MedTech provides under the law. And these are services that are supposed to be performed by custom. Custom hires a private provider to provide these services. So all of the fee that MedTech collect actually belongs to LRA.
Okay.
The day the MedTech contract ends and LRA takes over this function, all that money will come to LRA 100% in accordance with the law.
And LRA does not do any remittance to the concern.
Not of this fund, no.
Okay.
Not of this
My
fund.
second concern, we'll take note of that to conclude. My second concern, the AD observation, carries that during the audit, MedTech came into being 2018. MedTech?
contract, we signed a contract with the government on July 1, 2021.
So MedTech came into being 2021. Okay, so the AG is, audit is saying, or observation carries, that from 2021 to 2024, during an audit, the Auditor General observed no evidence of adequate supporting documents such as payment vouchers, payment request, purchase order, receipt, contracts, approved, procurement plans, bid, document, evaluation report, procurement committee report, delivery notes, etc., where applicable for various expenditures amounting to 2.2 million. Mr. Commissioner General.
Yes, thank you, Senator. So, I actually already addressed that is count 2. Count 3, sorry. We already addressed count 3. We indicated that, again, this has to be stratified because there's a portion of this report that corresponds to the previous administration. So we cannot speak much to that. Moreover, the procurement was being handled by MedTech. And when MedTech speaks, MedTech will speak to the availability of those records. What we decided to clarify are payments that were made since my ascendancy as Commissioner General. And we've taken each of the amounts highlighted in the Auditor General's report, and we commented on them one by one.
So where's your response to the Auditor General's report?
Our response to the Auditor General's report is that in some of those instances...
No, your response as you are responding now, where's the copy? The Auditor General printed something. Where's your own printed response so I can see to inform myself?
It's in the Auditor General's report.
What the Auditor General report says, the Auditor General's summary, observation says, there were no evidence of adequate supporting documents. In your what you call management response, right? Do you have it here?
Yes.
Where is your copy? Because you're only speaking orally, I don't have any document to counter what the Auditor General or to, and you know.
Then you have the cover report. Page 60.
Page 16. You should have his, FRA should have their response for our file.
So, Senator Dillon,
Yes, sir.
we prepare a dossier of the documents in question,
Yeah.
and I will have my colleague. Yeah, so please send it out.
Yeah, so these things go to come to us
Yes.
before these hearings so that we can inform ourselves and then know where you're reading from. So it doesn't seem that you're being oral with everything. Eh?
Yeah.
Because these things have repetition issues, character issues,
Exactly.
especially institutional and individual repetition.
Yes.
In Liberia, you know the audit this institution, everybody feeling concluding that somebody's a role.
Yeah.
And these hearings are intended to help the system or for the Senate to take the appropriate action and make the appropriate recommendation to the executive where applicable for the appropriate action from the executive. But if you keep responding to me from oral talks and then I don't see any reference and no document before me, it's troubling.
Senator, my colleague is saying that he shared, you say you shared.
They told the food transactions. Before according to the
Are you on oath?
Please.
Did you take oath?
No.
But where are they? Will you share them?
When? Where is it?
CG response.
The CG's response to the Auditor General's, what is management response? That's what I'm talking about.
According to the audit,
You can't talk. You're not on the oath. But explain it to one and then we'll explain it.
No, but you can explain it, because you you're the one representing the RA.
So it's in the order.
so it's not taken from.
Hello.
Hold on.
The question is simple. Do you have your response that you
So this particular
responded,
issue.
when you responded to the Auditor General present with you?
Yes. So,
Have you presented it to this committee?
it's in the Auditor General's report, sir.
No.
Okay, what place?
Hello. You know that the Auditor General report to the committee or in the audit or to commission has findings and your response. But you have responded to certain issues that you said. Hello.
What's your name, sir? Rufus? Don't move up and down again, please. Yeah? Okay, sir, thank you.
The issue that Senator Dillon is raising, you talk about Starlink,
Yes.
you talk about the telco. The written response that you did in your closing with the Auditor General, have you presented that to this committee?
It's in the Auditor General's report, so no, we
No, it's not.
we present that.
But I think that's what Senator Dillon is saying. We need to see
The
your
response.
response.
The response, oh, we can present that.
Yeah, but
We
I don't have it.
eventually provide that. Apologies, my assumption was that we will all have copies of the Auditor General's
We
report.
do have copies, but it's not there. The Auditor General say, the Auditor General say, you have adequate document here. Here's your input, you said, so.
The Auditor General said you show you didn't have no evidence of adequate supporting document. That's what he said. Your response to him was written. Formal, right? What's the copy?
That's a copy we didn't print.
Yeah, so.
And you coming for the hearing.
Yeah, moving forward, this is important. Everything you gave to the Auditor General in your defense, you have to come ready to this hearing with them because you're coming to educate us more what you told them, where you disagree, where you agree, and so on. Because after this hearing, we have to do a report to talk about the next aspect. There could be forensic audit, or there could be other type of actions initiated by the Senate.
Senator Dillon,
Chairman, I will yield for that.
Okay, good. The gentleman from Riverside, and then you, go further.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. By introduction, my name is Stephen Smith of Riverside County and a member of this committee. I have a few concerns. The issue before us is the working of the system and government money. But my concern is basically on the route. DG, is there a contract or agreement between the government and Liberia and MedTech?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Who all signature the agreement?
Let me check go to it quickly. Yeah. So I will come in with that. Sorry, so the signatories are the Minister of Finance, Samuel Twe, former Minister of Finance, the former Minister of Commerce, Maoni Deeps, the former National Investment Commission Chair, Malola Gray, the late Commissioner General Morfuna.
You reading for the contract?
No,
So, how do you expect this committee to take your oral list of people who signed a contract that makes it binding on the contract?
Senator, we've already apologized that we didn't bring a contract, but we can bring a contract about.
When can you,
Mr.
Commissioner General, as you can see, we need copies of what you are reading to us. When can you submit those to the committee?
In 2 days. In 2 days.
Colleagues?
In 2 days?
But let me,
Okay. So, please provide everything to us.
okay, so let me continue. What's the agreement ratified by the National Legislature of this country?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
All our laws. You don't see this as a violation of the Constitution.
That's not for me to determine, Senator. This is a matter has come before this August body, and like you hear the chairman say, the Senate's recommendation to the president was to renegotiate this contract or cancel it. So those recommendations are currently being implemented. So I think we've gotten to a point where, this is an action that was done by the previous administration. So this is very for you to make a
So even a review of that decision cannot come to the legislature to meet the constitutional requirement of ratification.
These are questions that are not for me, Senator, with all due respect.
Can I ask, because you control the tax collectorate or revenue collectorate of the country, the signatures to this non-ratified agreement, how they arrived at the decision for MedTech to take 80% and the government of Liberia or Liberia to 20%? How they arrived at that decision? You get it, Brad?
I get to you. I wasn't there. Let me tell you about a contract that we have participated in negotiating. The government got 70% and the contractor got 30%. When we renegotiated the GTMS contract, which I think will be the subject of the next hearing, we ensured that from 3%, that we was able to get 30%. So this is what we have done so far for the few contracts that we have participated in, either negotiating or renegotiating. And our hope is that when we renegotiate this contract, the terms we get will be better than the current situation.
Chairman? I'll rest for now.
Thank you. Before you come in, Senator Batikwa was not here, but he had asked before. Then after Senator Batikwa, Senator Momo Sarah, Senator Dama, and then Councilor Jala.
And maybe I'll come back.
Okay.
Councilor Jala.
Senior
Chairman of the Banking and Currency Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
That's right.
My first concern goes to the Auditor General. The information that the 6,775,554 was given to the LRA. Which period? What year?
So the total period is from 2021 to 2024. From 2021 to 2024, the period of the audit.
Okay. Because you said this amount was given to the LRA and it was then reflected in their budget. So you're talking about the budget from that year, all that kind of budget?
So my concern is, and I think stated that a number of times now, how does the LRA account for this amount? The amount is not in the LRA budget. I'm currently auditing the LRA. I'm not seeing that amount in their financial statements or budget performance reports. So my concern is, how has the LRA accounted for that money? The other question I want to ask is, how are they currently accounting for that money? Are they still, if they do not agree with our findings, are they now capturing that money as part of their budget? Are they now reporting it in their financial statement? Why the sudden change? Because if you have revenue that you did not project for as a result of maybe its uncertainty, then you should disclose those revenue in your budget performance reports and corresponding financial statements. So my biggest concern on this matter is, how's the LRA been accounting for this money?
So from your observation, from your audit observation, what is the annual intake from the 20% to LRA?
It can be calculated, and it's based on the total amount that is collected from the destination inspection. So that can be calculated. But consistent with the contract, this money should have been going to the LRA straight away. MedTech withheld this money up to June 2024. LRA was making requests for different expenditure to MedTech. Again, under our law, all procurement activities should be subjected to the creation of a procurement plan which is approved by PPCC, etc. Can the LRA also answer that those requests that were made to MedTech when they subjected to procurement procedures of the country, when they subjected? That's a question. When the LRA did receive the withheld amount in June 2024, did they formalize procurement processes before expending those funds? When you received the amount in June 2024, did you subject the funds before usage to normal procurement activities consistent with our law? Did you? Has the LRA also accounted for the remaining 1.3 million as per the Auditor General final report? Those are questions that I have not seen answered yet. That's why I say I think the response is being cherry-picked, in my opinion.
Senator Batikwa,
Before you continue, ask an important question. The Auditor General answer. So in a deal like this, a transitory account was supposed to be set up where all the payments from MedTech transactions will go into. From there, the 80% will go to MedTech, the 20% will go to LRA. The other general is saying LRA should have remitted that to the consolidated account. So to know the actual value, monetary value of MedTech contract, monetary transaction wide, it is the statement of that transitory account, you will know the total value to be able to determine the 80-20, but that did not happen in this case. So in this case, everything 100% went to MedTech, and MedTech managed the 20%. MedTech determined how much was 20% and how much was 80%. That's it. That's a serious issue for the committee to consider in terms of next step.
So my concern is that the GSC is at least to really guide us into how matters like this can be handled. My concern is that LRA is allowing the amount that should come to the government of Liberia to domicile stay after collection with MedTech. Is it appropriate?
It is not appropriate, Senator. That's why we reported it as part of our findings.
But do you also really observe the maybe okay because you say your audit end at 2024 October, so you did not go beyond that. But in order to really understand whether they are going beyond even the limit of the contract agreement, the construction that is going on in Limba, from your study, from your audit, when did it start?
So I don't have access to all of the information now. As part of our audit report, we usually point out exceptions. And we observed that the construction of the DI site was constructed in Lima inconsistent with the contract. And like we said, the DI side was facilitated, the funding for the DI side was released by LRA. As per the contract, the construction of the DI side should have been funded by MedTech. And it is good you raised the first point, Senator. In accounting and auditing, we have something called completeness and accuracy. For us to know, and I'm happy that Senator Corner also back that up. For us to know the total funding that was collected by MedTech, for which 20% per the contract should have been remitted to the LRA, we have to have a database, first of all the destination inspection services that have been performed, available to major stakeholders in real time so you can compute. You can be able to compute the total DI services. The second portion would be the creation of the transitory account, such that MedTech has absolutely no access to what is due to the government of Liberia. And like indicated in all of the deliberation, they have had access to everything. They decide what our 20% is, and they've been withholding it. And we've been expending what we think our 20% is, with us subjecting those expenditures to our procurement laws. These are very gross violations. Not only relative to how much money we should have gotten, not only relative to how we account for this money, but how we do business with these concessions. And when we go to even the next one concerning CTN, we will see that these are very serious violations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Young.
Senator, you still have more questions? Go ahead, please.
Okay, then we'll go to, thank you, Senator. We'll go to the gentleman from Lupa 2.
For 1 year.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again
Then after Lupa 2, we'll go to Cape Mark 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, again for the opportunity. So I hear all of the analysis being made, some of them are very troubling for the country. And that's why I always ask, why are we so poor in this country? And with all of these endowments, and we're still ranking among the poorest nation in the world. It's sickening. And these are some of the reasons why, honestly. But let me go to my question. I heard CJ saying it was not my time. I mean, I wasn't there. But looking at his left, the Commissioner General, let's say the custom commissioner is dead. He'll be there forever. Next to him is Montgomery, who be the deputy. If I begin, I think CG we lost or none. So I see a 6 million and some more dollars now.
Bello was there too.
Yeah, they've been there. So it's only him that have come to augment this team. So we should not be talking about I wasn't there. This team should be able to give the Liberian people, the Senate, a complete information of what has been going on at the LRA for the last 5 years. There's really no reason why someone should dodge any question here regarding revenue because the Commissioner General Lit is not here. All of the guys on your left has been there for all the time on the review. So basically, I don't want us to go down around. Let's answer the question as the question arises. The next concern is the fact that we talked about 20%. My thing is, was it possible for us to increase the 20% to 40% or 50% or something? Why are we sticking to 20% all the years? That 20%, 20%. I'm not even talking about the verification as to whether what is given to the Liberian government is actually what should be given, because if you leave the system with the investors, they will screw you up. That is clear enough. And so, why hasn't we put a system in place to check that? And besides that, why are we just staying negotiating 20% when this MedTech has existed for over 5 years? My question.
Thank you, Senator. Only point about when I say I wasn't here, this was in response to a question about why the document was not ratified by the legislature. That's what I was saying that. For that, I can speak to that because I wasn't here. And the government of the day is the one that made the determination as to whether or not to bring it to the legislature. Only question, and of course, if there are questions that need to be answered by my colleagues who have been there, the whole time, they will come in to provide the answer.
So if it's about 506 million that wasn't remitted, can you guys take ownership and responsibility of that since it's a team?
I think I responded to that, Senator. That was not the thing I said I wasn't here for.
Okay.
What we said here is that there's a difference of opinion between how the Auditor General interprets the law and how we interpret the revenue code that gives us the right to utilize that money. So this is where the legislature will have to look and we provide some guidance on what they have in the law, especially in the revenue code related to the amount of money that is being collected as custom services fee, which is the subset of which is what MedTech has been collecting. The second question you asked, Senator, if you can just go away.
I said, why hasn't we increased this 20%?
Yes,
It's
okay.
only 20%.
So to do so, Senator, we will have to go to renegotiation. And this was one of the recommendations by the Senate in the letter to the presidency. In fact, this is a decision that under the president's leadership, the cabinet has made. We will go to negotiation, and when we go to negotiation, we will do our best to kill all these anomalies, whether it's for opening of transitory accounts, whether it's negotiating the terms of the agreement. All of those things I think we will do. Well, since the Senate submitted its report and recommendations to the president, we haven't been able to move on the negotiation front because of this case that have been pending before the Supreme Court, which is now resolved.
The Senate, for clarity, the Senate made alternative recommendation to the executive.
Yes.
One, review the thing and make it proper, or cancel it because it's not in the best interest. So let it record carry that the Senate made alternative recommendations to the executive.
That is true, Senator.
Yeah.
I alluded to that earlier. I did indicate here earlier that the Senate made two recommendations. Either renegotiate the contract to kill the defects or cancel.
Cancel because of significant non-compliance.
Yes.
Yes.
So the cabinet has met and made a decision to go along with the first option proffered by the Senate, that is to renegotiate. But that renegotiation process, as I was just explaining to the senator, hasn't started because of this case. In fact, it's starting today.
So this document you share with us from the court resolve the dispute between the two parties.
Yes.
Okay.
So involved in this arrangement now, there's no more MedTech Scientific Liberia. It's now MedTech Scientific Limited and MedTech Inspection Services. So beginning today,
Still here Dubai. Is that Dubai thing still on?
the MedTech Scientific Limited is the MedTech Dubai.
That's the parent company.
Yes. So we'll renegotiate with them and hopefully we'll get more favorable terms and we'll be able to address, all the non-compliance issues that were flagged by the Auditor General in his report and also that came out of the findings of the Senate review.
But Chair, excuse me.
I was just saying.
So the Momo Saras is still on the...
No. Are you for now?
Yeah, your question. DG, say you are representing the government of Liberia and know the benefits of this contract. Do you really consider the 20% for government of Liberia at this stage?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not okay. In fact, it's hurtful. It's really hurtful. But the way to cure it is to sit down at the negotiation table and we present all the sides.
Thank you very much. That's a presiding. I think much has been said concerning this. I listened to the CT right now to start when he said hopefully there will be more favorable terms. I think we should go to negotiation and be very decisive as to what we want out of the contract. Because the contract has operated over the period of time, and all of you who are technical people that are perfect to this operation will actually what a benefit the contract is agreed. So by now you should have made a decision that as we go to the table, this is what we carry, we must get this, or we cancel. and find another provider. Isn't that something we should be hearing from you? Instead of the hopefully.
Senator, this is a public hearing, so I don't want to play the government cards in the public domain. But we've actually met internally and actually lay out what our expectations are and what we are going to go for in these negotiations. And believe me when I say that we are going to go for what we believe is in Liberia's best interest, and that will be far better than the current terms.
Thank you very much. At least I'm a little bit relaxed with that one. You say hopefully you already have defeated the reason for the renegotiation. Thank you. The GSC, I just wanted a clarity because I see all of the numbers that you listed here as revenue and the sharing of revenue over the period of the existence of this agreement. Did you get this information only from the LRA or you follow some trail to the MedTech? Did you review anything from MedTech?
So we did not have access to the database that comprehensively cataloged all of the DI services revenue. What we did was we sent MedTech a confirmation to inform us how much they collected as a result of the performance of DI services and how much was subsequently remitted to the LRA. So there is even a limitation of scope in that manner, if I should say, because to ascertain, and I indicated that again in my previous statement, to ascertain the completeness and accuracy of how much MedTech was collecting, we needed the database that comprehensively cataloged all of the DI service inspection. And like I said, that information should be available to all stakeholders, including the Office of the Auditor General.
Thank you very much. LRA, do you have the database?
Which database?
Yeah, catalog all of the operational, the income, the revenue from the MedTech agreement in order to determine what 20% is and what 80% is. You have had the full information of what is coming in. So you have that information. Yes. Or we are only at the mercy of MedTech?
No, we don't have the information because MedTech does not operate in isolation. Customs is there, and Customs is the one that supervises the MedTech work. And all of the business that pass through the port, especially those that are handled by MedTech, are all to the knowledge and accurate sense of Customs Department. So Customs does have that database.
Thank you very much. My colleague from LOFA also mentioned about technicians or officials that have been in the operation of this equipment even before you moved to LRA. And some of them are here, right? Can you tell us why all of these adherences, including the setting up of the transitory account that didn't happen for 5 years? Why?
I'm Senator Bank, Deputy for Administration. To tell you the truth, Senator, I saw the contract last year when Commissioner General
Please speak louder.
my first time seeing the contract was last year when Commissioner General arrived at LRA
How long you been at LRA?
since 2020.
What's your position?
I'm the Deputy for Administration.
But you knew there was a MedTech arrangement, right?
Yes, there was.
Did you ask?
No, he didn't need to ask. He did not inherit MedTech. When you got to LRA, there was no MedTech. Legally.
There was
The MedTech contract was signed and took effect 2021.
Senator Gill, I'm on the oath and I'm not going to lie to you. I saw the contract when
And you have been in this position since 2020.
When you saw the contract, MedTech have been into legal existence. You were complaining about for administration 2020. You did not inherit MedTech. You were there. And it was good last year over the government. that you saw the contract?
Under Commissioner General Governor.
So are you suggesting that you were deputy Commissioner General for Administration at LRA since 2020?
Since 2023.
Since 2023? Then when you became, before then?
Commissioner for General Services.
So you were at LRA at managerial level, and you only saw the contract last year.
When Commissioner General Governor arrived.
You know I'm an investigator too. That statement may say something. They were hiding it for you?
I think the MedTech contract was very complicated, and I was able to see it when Commissioner General Governor came in. What did you say?
Since 2023, you became Commissioner, Deputy for Administration. You made no effort, you asked no question, you just sat in your office and had nothing to do with MedTech.
It's a complicated issue.
I'm not hearing you, sir.
It's a complicated issue.
How can you unbundle this complication?
It's because the fact is, what I'm telling you, I only saw the contract when Honorable Governor.
Was there something scary about it, fishy about it?
Because it was something that was, I mean, even when I sat, it was something that I didn't think about. It was something that I didn't think about.
Were you going to try not to speak?
No.
Why are you speaking now?
Because you just asked me about the contract.
And you said since you then that you just said it last year.
I think the contract issue came about when the WDR came in. That's the only time I saw it.
But LRA they're collecting 20% and you were benefiting too.
Oh, definitely, certainly.
But you care not to know about the contract when it's still in your hand.
It
Anything.
was Senator.
As deputy for administration, next in line.
Senator, I did not see or tell you.
And you expect me as a senator to come sit here and sit clap for you for making that statement.
No, Senator, I'm not trying to gain anything from you. I'm just trying to tell you the contract was seen last year when.
Even though you were benefiting from the 20% LRA broadcast for you, LRA did different thing for you, and then your office operated under that contract.
Honorable Senator, the Commissioner General shared the contract.
So, Chairman, are you on this deputy commissioner?
Before you became, you protect So before you became deputy commissioner for administration,
Just so you
you
know, we have
were
30 more minutes left for this hearing. 30 more minutes left.
you were in a managerial position at LRA, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew there was a contract with MedTech. Real?
Yes.
Let's agree that you did not see the physical contract, you did not read the contract.
Yes.
But you knew that MedTech or a DI inspection was ongoing, right?
Certainly, ma'am. Certainly.
So when you became the deputy for administration, what effort did you make to see the contract in order to be able to follow through? And so, you want someone to help you?
No, ma'am, I will answer.
No, I see you turning around.
I will answer you. When I sat in January of 2023, my first request was to see the contract of MedTech, and I also wanted to know.
How did you make a request, oral or written?
In meetings.
What it means on the meeting that you made?
No, I'm not saying it was in meetings. So I was informed about the contract, about the MedTech issue, and the documentations were there, and I saw some, procurement, and all of that. I only saw the contract.
So you asked for the contract and you were not given the contract.
No, it was always coming where it didn't come.
And you're comfortable for 1 whole year plus until Commissioner Jala came. And you were still in the role as deputy, the senior deputy.
I was still trying to find it.
Can we equate that to non-performance of your duty?
I was still trying to find it.
Can we?
I am looking for that, and I really go ahead and.
Give the witness chance to answer the question.
I'm telling you the truth. I said you want me to say something different.
I don't want you to say something different, but when you are appointed, you have a responsibility to the appointing officer and of course to the government of Liberia. And the reason why you are appointed in that role is to perform the responsibility. Part of the responsibility is to follow through on these major agreements. And honorable presiding officer, this is not only with LRA and MedTech, this is a serious issue in the governance of this country and the management of contracts. It extends to almost every agreement in this country. People who are entrusted with following through, ensuring that those contracts are delivered to the letter, they pay a blind eye. And every time we come to the kind of hearing, we notice that people just leave the contractors to decide what they want to do and deny the country of revenue and services that are provided for under those contracts. And who is responsible is you who sit in the seat. Right now, you believe that you are covered by Commissioner Jala coming in newly and say, I was in there when most of these things happened. But you weren't there. So you should be able to take responsibility. Remember, I think I will propose that to the presiding and to the committee that this is gross. That this is gross underperformance. That is one issue. The next issue, Commissioner, I know you have said that we are moving to renegotiation. But like I said earlier, it's renegotiation versus defects. We can renegotiate the best of terms. If they are not followed, it's a waste of time. Because the earlier one had not been performed. I know you use the excuse about, oh, the poor are being put here. I understand that you have taken some steps. But earnestly, we have to be serious to perform the duties that we are assigned for the sake of this country. One thing I wanted to find out, and someone mentioned it earlier, but you speak to it, the issue of full disclosure. I know that during the budget formulation, you are always there advocating for more money to expand the revenue envelope for the sake of Liberia. But then this is an extra revenue that is not captured in the budget, that is not reported that we are getting this and it will address some of the problems within customs and all of that. Because those are the challenges that you bring to us in order to get appropriated certain amount to help the LRA function effectively and adequately. But this income for the MedTech has not been reported. Why? And if they have been reported, just clarify it to the committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator. When we took over, this is one of the things we observed, that the funds from MedTech was not being reported on the budget. In the current budget, Senator Finley will tell you, it was declared fully. It was declared fully, but it was meant to be a pass-through. Unfortunately, LRA is now being penalized for declaring it, because we declared it and it was swept from under us. So we didn't get our money. So next year budget will be with you. I will declare it just as a pass-through, because we really need this money. Because we don't have this money now, it's really posing a lot of problems for us.
Did you say they were taken from you?
Yes, it was taken from you, Senator. Now your question there.
No, if they not go to the consolidated account and you did not
No, you didn't say so.
Yeah.
Put that in.
I put it in the budget. I declared it on budget. So you're supposed to have tapped up my last year amount by that amount. But instead my amount didn't go up. So it means you have to be reallocated it somewhere different.
The MedTech's money.
Yes.
But the auditor said it did not go to the consolidated.
No, but that was
Before 2024, 2025.
Period. And he started saying that for 2021.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, before we take that, so I can ask my last question.
Senator, I think the audit was before this year's budget.
Yeah, it was October
The
2024.
Commissioner General is saying he disclosed the MedTech contribution to us in the draft budget proposal the President sent. But then we reallocated that to somewhere else. I think that's not related to
Exactly.
Audit.
But we've declared, and we intend to continue to declare. We'll be very transparent about it, and what we're using it for, we'll tell you.
Thank you. As long as you continue to be transparent, we'll be here to support your advocacy. But lastly, you mentioned about the $190 threshold for government to benefit, which you said for that there was no documented. I don't know how you got that during your transition. How was that? How was that information given to you and that you implemented as an institution of government without any written document?
It was actually written, Senator, but it still was not okay. It was written by the former Commissioner General. There's a letter signed by the former Commissioner General to MedTech, instructing MedTech that the government has decided not to proceed with the fee structure in a contract because of public outcry. Because essentially the fees in a contract at the time were going to increase astronomically, if you ask me. And because of the public outcry, the Commissioner General, former Commissioner General, then wrote MedTech and said, no, we will not use the fee structure, and as such, we will default to the previous 190 that DVAC was charging. And my understanding is that the arrangement they reached now was that anything below the 190, government will not get a share. You know, which was the case with DVAC. But everything above 190 is where we get the 20%. So the 20% we are getting is only for amounts above the 190.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I need you to do
Senator Jala will go and then he will come. Then we'll close it.
Yeah.
Now, Senator, do you want to say any question? Okay, Senator Jala.
Let me thank you for the opportunity. My name is Senator Councilor Joseph Jala. I'm Senior Senator of Local County, member of the Judiciary Committee, co-chair, member of Investment Committee. I'm pleased to be here today. Mr. Auditor General, I'll start with you. May I ask, are you a lawyer? In addition to being an auditor?
No, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a chartered accountant.
Okay. Are you a prosecutor?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Now, the reason I ask this question is many times auditors pose as lawyers, and when they make a point, they don't have room for second view. I was acting Minister of Justice. John Molu was Auditor General. We arrested the fellow from the airport with 500 or $500,000 with drugs. Ayinka, I think he is, the Nigerian fellow.
Dr. Ayinka.
Yes. Now, Mr. Molu, I was acting when Philip Bank traveled. Mr. Molu wanted to audit that money. He wrote the Justice Ministry. We had a meeting. My colleagues agreed that it should be audited. I refused. You know what my legal reasoning? It was not budgeted. You are entitled to traverse budgetary appropriation how they are used. That money was not budgeted. So I refused. And that was the end of the story. Number two, I went to the central bank. John Molu wanted to audit the central bank. I said, no. You want to audit revenue that comes from LRA to CBL. This money that we have here is made for other accounts. You cannot audit the central bank comprehensively. You want to come and audit the LRA account from the government, from the Ministry of Finance, you are welcome. He didn't come. So, the law you were alluding to, like the PPCC law is not absolute. It's limited to government budget appropriation and how it's given to agency. For example, if you go to audit the central bank and government did not make appropriation to them, you'll be evading privacy on our own privacy. But let me come to the issue of the percentage. The issue of percentage between the government and the contractor is a simple arithmetic. Whether you have asset to it today or 3 years later, every time money is deposited, there's a paper trail. You can just aggregate it. even if the money is deposited today and you didn't have the chance to subtract that, when you go to audit, the date the money was audited was $1, you can disaggregate it. So it's not a big issue for me. So I think auditors should not proceed with idea that when something happens, the audit report is criminal investigation. Audit report is fact-finding to help criminal investigators utilize and go about doing what they want to do, to find the intent of expenditure and how the diversion were made. So I just want to really, cap that caption that, because I saw you briefing almost like like somebody on a running race. When they were asking you a question, you said here clearly, and you challenged the LRA that there was no information, no authority to rely on to utilize the money. When he went out to read the revenue code, then he came back with cherry picking. So we should move with open mind when we do auditing people. An audit report or auditing is not a criminal investigation. It is simply fact-finding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I supposed to respond to that?
If you respond, come back.
I don't know why it's a question because you called my attention.
I think it's a comment. The committee will consider that a comment. That does not warrant an answer.
I can give you my number for the program.
No, that's okay. So that, yeah.
I know the other two.
Then I'll close.
Yeah, what's your concern? To MedTech's representative and the Commissioner General, I just want to know, you have experience with this application about the 20% and the 80%. Can you really tell us what do you think is the annual intake of this amount, of this payment? Total annual intake that can be disaggregated.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Senator, if I speak to you, I will speak to you in averages because the flow of annual income of MedTech fluctuates with trade volume. And trade volume
Plus or minus.
So plus or minus is 800,000
800,000
per month.
a month.
That gets disaggregated for 2080.
I want to say annual.
For annually, so we do that times 12.
Okay. Thank you. We have 8 minutes to close it because we have another hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Senator Dillon, will you go and then we'll close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to ask one basic question. I'm sure. MedTech services are custom services, correct? The services MedTech provide are custom LRA services, correct? What is MedTech providing that LRA does not have the capacity to provide, for which MedTech must come in?
Thank you, Senator. Everything MedTech is doing, LRA can do, and LRA is capable to do. The main purpose of this contract is the construction of the destination inspection facility, which costs around $20 million. At the time, my understanding is that the government did not have that $20 million to do a procurement process for a builder to come and build a destination inspection site and put the equipment in. So they decided to go the PPP route. So the primary objective of this contract is to build a DR site at the port, which construction is currently underway. Once the government gets that, the plan is when this contract reaches its climax, by the end of the period of this contract, it will not be renewed because LRA will then have acquired the asset and the resources needed for custom to do this inspection themselves.
So the construction of the destination point, how you call it, was built at $20 million, correct?
It's estimated at
Estimated at $20 million. the government did not have 20 million.
Yes.
So MedTech come, bring 20 million, do custom work, and then give custom 20% of what you generate from custom related duties or activities.
Yes.
Correct?
More or less.
So if LRA is 100% performing those custom related activities MedTech is performing, that will reduce the fees, the charges, and the cost on the business community, and then trickle down to the ordinary people, correct?
That would be a possibility. Yes.
So MedTech has not constructed the destination point.
They are constructing it now.
Since when?
Since this year. The start of this year.
So they've been collecting since 2021.
Yes.
This year, they started constructing,
Yes.
knowing that a new government in town and out to review or cancel due to lack of significant performance or delivery.
That was not the reason, Senator. And again, let me explain to you my understanding. When the contract was signed, the government of Liberia was supposed to have provided space in the port for the construction of the DR facility. That provision was not implemented by the government until about 20 months later.
The people were collecting.
They were still collecting, but the government did not provide the space for them to do the construction. Then the government finally provided the space after about 20 months. Then the drawings were done. They understand that the government came back again and encumbered that space because they took up space for Congo mining and Western cluster.
So in essence, it is the government at fault. We Liberia are fault that the destination point has not been constructed.
Exactly. We are largely at fault.
Before MedTech, how are we doing custom?
BVAC was doing it, but BVAC was doing pre-inspection, pre-shipment inspection. But then the work order has moved away from pre-inspection to destination inspection.
So when it goes land?
Yes, that's when the inspection is done.
So when it is pre-inspected, it is less costly than when it is inspected on the ground. Because when BVAC was in charge, the fee was not as high as when MedTech is now in charge. So it was it that pre-inspection outside the country less expensive as compared to inspection on the ground?
It still is the same percentage when you look at what's in the law. The CIF value is still the same. So, but the thing is, you cannot revert now back to pre-inspection because nobody is doing pre-inspection anymore. Yeah.
I'm looking at
But Senator, if your question is driving at getting prices down, that's a bigger conversation we can have. And at the time when government takes over the running of this facility on its own, then government can decide, look, to create relief for our people, we can decide to...
Let me get my point.
Okay, what's the point?
BVAC was performing these services, but doing pre-shipment inspection.
Yes.
They were charging $10 for instance. MedTech is now in charge and the work order is destination inspection, right? So then MedTech is in charge now, then the inspection fee is $20. Why inform the increase of
but the fee are mostly the same. That's why when the Commissioner General wrote, as I mentioned earlier, the new fee structure was going to increase everything. But then the government decided, according to the former Commissioner General's letter, that it should default back to the BVAC rates. So it is the BVAC rate now, which was 190, which is what is in effect right now.
So lastly, what is LRA doing to give evidence of expenditure of the amount that you inherited? There's no evidence and no proof shown to the Auditor General, to the audit.
Well, I think the Auditor General language was inadequate. But there are evidence.
It was not only inadequate, he said there was no evidence. It's right here.
Yeah.
So inadequate is not the same as no evidence.
So what we'll do is we can provide you all the files, but there are files that exist for all of those. The key issues are these. And it's like, going to God and say, please change me from man to woman. These things are some. the previous administration decided that they would deposit the LRA share of the money with MedTech. That in itself was a violation. And because you're keeping it with MedTech and making requests to MedTech and MedTech doing the procurement on your behalf, then also you will not be able to conform to all the PBCC rules and all of that. This is the issue. So anybody who comes back to look at what happened before will clearly show that it was not conforming, it did not conform with all of those issues because the money was sitting with a third party who was executing procurement on behalf of the government agency. These are the things now that will need to be cured, and they're the ones will be cured once we proceed with this negotiation. And my timeline, again, this is to the Honorable Senator from Grand Cape Mount County. My timeline is we hope that before mid-July, now that this Supreme Court issue is out of the way, we hope that before mid-July, we would have concluded this renegotiation process and hopefully fix all of these things once and for all. But Senator, we can't go back in time now to say, we'll go put, procurement plan in places. It's not possible for us to do. Yeah, so we'll just have to correct the processes as we go forward.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Your document here, point Brian Envelope, might be getting Brian Envelope. You're bringing Brian Envelope with document. You're putting Brian Envelope.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. I think it's been an interesting hearing. I just want to flag a few issues here. MedTech have been sitting, you haven't answered any question. It's like the government is doing your financial. We're talking about 6.7 billion that the Auditor General observed that was not remitted into the consolidated account. This is a fact. Why? Because the transfer account was not established and you receive a letter from the LRA to manage this money for you. I mean, you do back of the envelope calculation of 6.7 billion of what is 20%, you're talking about a whopping 33.8 million that was collected. And Nigeria got 6.7. And of that, the auditor is saying that they was not related into something. So I guess my question to you and the LRA, did you guys do reconciliation when the new administration at LRA took over? Did you give full disclosure of how much you collected on behalf of the government and you were authorized to manage? This is public money. That is why you are subject to an audit, according to our law.
Well, on account of the manager of the funds, we do provide reconciliation because the basis of telling you that you tell us to 10 hours compared to 5 hours is informed by the analysis that we do every month. And we make the money to the LRA designated account on station at the Eco Bank.
Now, who does the analysis? Just you or you and
we do the analysis.
Was LRA?
Yeah, that's why the CD also told you that every document that we receive and process, you have access to that document.
I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about the period when the contract was consummated up to the audit period of October last year. Did you do that?
Yes, that's what I said. Every document that will happen since the contract became operationalized, every documentation, every transaction we process, LRA has a copy of those on the system.
Okay, so you can account for this 6.7 million that the other general said was not related to the consolidated account, correct?
Basically, with the Auditor General, because we were going to take out the confirmation, when the Auditor General wrote us, he asked us to do an allocation of what we allocated to the LRA during the period. We completed his form, and we also provided all the documentation relative to the transfer that was made to the LRA via a manager's check, as well as all of the remittances that we made to the bank.
So what I'm trying to say is, you are in a position to prove to this committee, to prove to the people of Nigeria through this committee, that you collected X amount by our back of the envelope calculations when you consider 6.7 million that the Auditor General was able to verify as a percentage of something X that X is equal to 33.89 million, right?
Senator, just a point of information.
Yeah.
It's actually higher than that.
Okay, good.
Because the 20% is on amounts more than 190.
Aha.
So that behind the envelope you're doing
Yeah.
will tell you how much was the amounts above 190. So the amounts below 190 will have to be added to that 33 that you're doing behind the envelope, so it gets much higher.
Mr. Commissioner General, Mr. Representative of the MTF, this is the interest. This interest is clear. We want to know from the time the contract was consummated up to the time of this audit, how much in US dollars did you collect on this contract?
Mr. Senator Conan, I think the first time this matter will go to this August body, you specifically requested us to give you all of those documentation.
We want the Auditor General to verify that, you know, we're not accountants here. So that's number one. The other thing that we need to, the committee will be interested in is to the CG, these DI sites that are being constructed. I know you're doing some at the Freeport, and the Auditor General identified some in Nimba, which, you know, I think that is clarification. Or sending procurement plan, you were front loading, and then the organ was, it's something correct. I get it. I didn't know that. But there's a variance of about $65,000. Do you care to address that to the committee? What was the original cost of that site, and then why the variance? What can you justify what caused the variance?
So what I have reviewed, the documents I have reviewed and the documents I have submitted to the Auditor General, there was an original contract signed, and then there were 2 amendments to the contract. Okay, yes, sorry, my laptop has gone off, and I don't have the, you guys somewhere there? Yeah, so.
And just make that part of the submission.
Okay, yes, we'll clarify all of that.
Yeah, make it part of
and we'll provide. But the point I'd like to clarify, sir, is that the DI site in Nimba was not part of the deliverables under the DI contract with MedTech.
Okay.
That was not a deliverable under this contract. This is LRA using resources at its disposal to see whether we can, the same question that Senator Dillon was asking, are we able to do this by ourselves? The answer is, since we have this one contract, for the other ones, we'll try by ourselves and put those facilities there. And this is what LRA was doing. So that construction was completed before the administration sat in. When I took over, the payment that is being referenced was the final payment for that previous contract.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it would be good for you to share with us all DI sites that are being constructed under this contract, the costs, where they are, and when we expect them to be completed 100%. Maybe the president can delegate or whoever. The committee would like to know that. But that's part of the capacity building.
Just to be clear, there's only one DI site.
Which is the Nimba one?
No, the one at the port.
At the port.
Under this contract.
Well, you are constructing another one.
No, we finished. It completed in 2023.
Okay.
That been completed already.
The AG is saying that you overspent on it. So you.
Yeah, that's the one I will speak to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but the one DI site that MedTech is constructing finished?
No.
They just started.
We just started, yeah, we should be finished.
We'll let you go.
Within another year.
We'll let you go visit there.
Please, and when are you available?
No, we'll let you know.
Okay.
The other thing is, how many staff has MedTech trained under this agreement, the capacity building component of this agreement? I think there is some kind of capacity building fund that was alluded to at some point.
The whole thing that capacity building fund. But in terms of the training, here is the plan. I mean, this is how I would like to proceed. You build a
The
PCA.
PCA, how many have they trained so far?
That's what I'm about to answer,
Okay.
Minister. They're almost like the scanners. Why are the scanners not there? Why? Sorry. I'm my boss. Yeah. Sorry, man.
That's okay.
Yeah. So it's like the deliverables, scanners, computer software, linking this training. All of this will come in line when a site has been constructed. Because when a site has been constructed and the devices installed, then that's when we'll get a staff so that they can train the staff to be able to operate these facilities.
Okay. So the small King Day, Senator, I will make a rare exception for you. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, this microphone that giving to us to use, so it's in front of us, we have to use it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. See, you are the Commissioner General at LRA, or maybe one of the deputies, somewhere, or you know, if you were to leave the LRA today, and you got a job with MedTech the next day, to have the right link with LRA, with your secretary.
This is me as a person. So my answer will be no. Because I don't think MedTech will be able to pay me.
That's the only reason.
MedTech can pay me.
It goes to all your deputies. Same question, somewhere. And then my brother,
So, Senator, on moral grounds, if I participated in bringing about a contract, either actively or passively, or if I participated in the management of a particular contract on moral grounds, I will not take employment with them after I shall let that position.
Thank you. I would like to follow suit from Commissioner Sarah explanation. If I desired, if I participated in a moral drama, I wouldn't accept it. On the contrary, I would accept.
You're not for your same problem. Say no or yes. When you call on the
They're
contrary.
both, so I understand what
So
you
which one is the answer given? Yeah, man. Which one is your answer? What is the contrary?
The contrary that I didn't participate in our accept.
The question was direct. If you were in the employ LRA and immediately you were part of a contract deal to negotiate for MedTech, will you immediately leave LRA to work with MedTech or take employment with MedTech immediately? That's the question.
Senator, I think it was the answer that I gave. I was on the contrary. Since I decided, I would say no. If I didn't participate and preside over the allowed who were LRA, who was not part and part of these contracts they are in. Like my colleague said, probably people thought it was in attitude. No, it's not in
Do
attitude.
you answer it for him or the answer the question the senator did?
All right, no.
Thank you.
It's my turn? Yes. Senator, no.
Sir, what's the last position with LRA?
Deputy Commissioner General Administration. Please sit up.
Mr. Mark, please.
Again, my name is Audit. I'm Anthony Oliver in Reuters. I was the Deputy Commissioner of the Administration at the LRA. My tenure ended 2018. I left. I started my own business. I was also contracted to revamp the Coca-Cola plant, which I did from 2021 up to 2023. And then subsequently, I was engaged by MedTech as to relate to managing the project in this country because they wanted a Liberian to manage the project. And now I'm racing from a consultant to a CEO.
All right, thank you. I have some concerns about that, but we will discuss it.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Snow. Thank you very much. So, we'd like to bring this hearing to a close. The key issues for us as a committee, for the Senate, for the people, is accounting for the 6.7 million and knowing exactly how much MedTech has collected from destination inspection transactions since the contract was consummated up to the audit period. The period after the audit going forward, we're not discussing that yet today, maybe next year. Because the Auditor General adverse opinion states that they did not see this money remitted into the consolidated account. You manage this money on behalf of the government based on a letter from the LRA. Would like to know how much was collected, what constituted 20% of that you collected. That's important for this committee. The other thing also, the Auditor General raised the on count 2, which nobody picked up. What I would like to flag is the unrelated due about 20% revenue share to the LRA to the tune of $770,000. This count 2. When you manage this money for Liberia, the Auditor General did not see evidence of adequate supporting documents like payment vouchers. When LRA wrote you and you pay money on their behalf to vendors, etc. There's no evidence of payment vouchers. Even in some cases, no requests, purchase orders, receipts, contracts, approved procurement, something between you and them. This is a whopping 2.2 million. This committee is interested in how you disperse that money on behalf of the government.
Senator,
let me I'm closing. Let me finish. And then finally, we want to the other issues are for the LRA regarding the construction of the DI site. The one in the Madison overrun, we want to know what caused the overrun. And then the one that MedTech is building at the port, we'd like to know the status and when it can finish, because the contract is in multi-year of implementation. And based on the number, when you take the number that someone gave us, the annual turnover for this, in a position to do that. So again, I should go to renegotiate. So I just wanted to flag that those questions were not answered adequately for the committee, and we are interested in knowing that the committee will meet, will communicate this to you in formal letter, copy to the Auditor General, and hopefully we can hear back from you in a reasonable time frame to help the committee either close this matter or instruct the AG to start another audit, this time forensic, which is more detailed. With that, I would like to ask the co-chair to give a brief closing statement.
Thank you, Chair. Let me take this opportunity to thank my colleagues for this hearing, and thank the Auditor General, the Commissioner General, and the deputies, Mr. Rogers. Also to extend our thanks and appreciation to the press. The committee will go now for recess, and we invite back to the committee room. Any information that is needed will be communicated to all the parties that are concerned or concerned. So we want to thank you all and ask God blessings
Thank you. Before we close, really, I'd like to thank my colleagues. Thank you so much to get this number of senators on Monday in this building speaks to their commitment to the committee's work. And I want to flag that. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming. And thank you for being engaged.
Thanks, Senator. Sorry. We still on our wall.
Come here. Oh, he's here. We're sitting on our wall. I want to thank the Auditor General. He's swamped. You know, he reports to us. We know his workload now. He's really swamped. We just had a very successful retreat this past weekend on the audit hearings that we had last year on previous audits. And he and his team spent the entire 2 days with us to take his time off to come here today to really present the work he's done. We thank you and your team for the level of professionalism and consistency in your work in supporting us to understand some of these things. DJ and your team from LRA, thank you for the professional way you responded to the issues raised by the Auditor General. We look forward to receiving additional information from you on some of the issues that were raised in the audit, for which you did not have your own version of the responses to them. To all of us, thank you for coming. MedTech, how I'm confused, but I'm glad we have one MedTech now. As far as we know, on this side, we don't have a contract, like an official contract, a ratified contract with MedTech. So until we can do that, then we will. So the only reason you are here is because you manage public money on behalf of Liberia, and we need to know how that was done. That's the interest of this committee. I want to thank the support staff. With that, we'll ask the signing of arms to please discharge the witnesses. Quick announcement: GTMS was supposed to be next. So we have received letters from the managing director of the NPA and also the CEO of GTMS that they will be in the country tomorrow, and so the committee will reschedule the hearing for Thursday after session. Yes. CTN, the Global Maritime Tracking Solution.
The values of our position, the authority that they make in our public accounting.
Exit,